Thanks, Nelson. And hello, everyone. We are here to talk about creativity, and that it's not just for advertising. It's not just for designers. It's not just for the creative department. Creativity is central to business. I'm not clicking. I need to click. So we're going to start talking about this. And when I first learned about this, in the midst of an identity crisis early in my career, an identity crisis that involved the video game Halo. Anybody out there heard of Halo? Anybody played Halo? Anybody? I see some hands, a lot of hands. So, Halo was a launch title with the first Xbox back in 2001. And at that time, we launched, if you can remember this, games on physical discs that were sold in physical stores, and that's it. That's what you did. That was the whole business model. And then 3 years later, you launched another one. So we launched the game Halo, and it was a wild success overnight. Gamers were playing this game around the clock. They were talking about this game obsessively across every gaming forum, 24/7. And we were shocked. And we said, OK, what are we going to do? We have to respond. How are we going to respond? We don't know, but let's respond. We're going to create a team. We're going to put some people together in charge of responding to this. And we created a franchise development team. What does that mean? It's a bird, it's a plane, it's franchise development. Nobody knew. But the responsibility of that team was respond. Respond to this enthusiasm. So they set us with the business team, and they said, do something. So naturally, we started looking at ways we could drive more revenue. How are we going to grow this? We started releasing action figures, novels, soundtracks, and we started making money. And they said, well, actually, what you're doing is you're engaging the community. So in fact, you should be sitting with the marketing department. We're going to have you go sit with marketing. So we started working with marketing. And instead, we started building partnerships to work with bands that were well-known Halo fans at the time. Incubus, Breaking Benjamin, creating game tracks, extending the experience. We created anime to extend to international audiences. All of a sudden, we were creating marketing that made money. That was new, that was different. And all of a sudden, all of these things started becoming a part of the Halo experience itself. And they said, you are core to the Halo world. You've got to sit with the product team. You've got to really be part of the product itself. And so we went and we sat with the product team. And then what happened was we said, what if? What if we could sell story content on Xbox Live episodically, in digital, all the time, and it worked? And as a result, we ended up changing the whole business model of Xbox. What was happening? What was happening here in all of this? Einstein called it combinatory play. It's this notion that by creating novel combinations of unexpected elements in surprising ways, much bigger, exponentially bigger things can happen. We accidentally stumbled on the most incredible accident, the most incredible power, and that was through fusing creativity and the creative process in groups where you would not expect it to show up. And as a result, when we launched Halo 2 in 2004, it was hailed as the biggest launch in entertainment history. Entertainment history, not video game history. It was bigger than any box office release ever to date. we had done something exponentially more than we had ever anticipated. And all through taking a creative approach fundamentally through the business, through the organization. So how do you, this was an incredible accident, but really it didn't need to be. How do you actually increase and expand creativity in a business? Novel combinations, we've covered that. Creating the environment for creative collaboration across different groups. Agile, yes, we know the word, well-worn, applied everywhere. Could it be applied across functional groups in a collaborative environment in new and integrated ways to be more useful? Can you actually give teams a specific sandbox to play in so that the sky is not always the limit? Because actually from neuroscience, we know that that creates paralysis. Creating the conditions, some level of constraint for innovation is also critical for these teams working together effectively. Walking into the gray, stepping into the void, being comfortable with the fact that you have no idea where you're going, and it's a discovery path. It's a journey. Be willing to see differently, because you know what? In fact, what we're seeing is industry after industry gets disrupted. What we're seeing is the most fundamental assumptions that that industry has maybe held forever, decades, are being flipped. And maybe they're not being flipped 90 degrees. Maybe it's only 35 degrees. But be willing to see differently. Be willing to flip long-standing beliefs. Be willing to challenge core assumptions. Flip everything. All of those conditions create an environment where this creative collaboration can happen across diverse teams. And it wasn't just Halo. It wasn't just a one-off, single example of an accident. There are many companies where this has taken hold, and it's ultimately impacted in very clear ways their business performance. The Cannes Lions Festival is really the Oscars of advertising, for those of you who aren't in advertising and marketing. And essentially the best picture that's given out every year, the best picture equivalent, is to the creative marketer of the year. The brand that demonstrates the most powerful advertising, the most creative advertising in the marketplace. But what's fascinating, they've been giving this award out since early 2000. And if you look at those companies, in every single case, you'll see two other things. One was that the culture of creativity, the ethos of creativity, had pervaded the entire company. And two, their business growth had never been better. So I just want to share a couple of these examples with you, starting with Swatch in the year 2002. Everybody knows Swatch, so creative, super creative watches. Of course, they're creative. When they won the Brand Marketer of the Year award in 2002, the Cannes Lions said, acknowledge the imaginative spirit of the CEO who introduced the smart car in partnership with Mercedes-Benz. Who would have expected Swatch to go to market that way? They were seeing the steepest growth in their stock price that they had ever seen in history. He carried this spirit across the entire company. Adidas, 2006, they won. That was the year that the long-standing CMO moved into the role of CEO. And he took their brand positioning, their external brand positioning, impossible is nothing, and he used it to completely change their culture across every single group within Adidas. Within that year, they launched the world's first intelligent shoe. They introduced a whole new retail concept, the Sports Performance Center. They established design collaborations with Stella McCartney and Yohji Yamamoto, which was new and novel at the time, unexpected, Novel combinations were being made because of this mindset. Impossible is nothing. How big can you think? How differently can you think? And he carried that across the organization. Their revenues doubled under his tenure. P&G is probably the most famous example of being the biggest real turnaround story across from about 2001 to 2008, when the CEO and CMO really teamed up to expand the creative agenda. The CEO is famously known to have said he wanted to challenge the R&D team that 50% of innovation at P&G should come from outside of the company. That was it was heresy, really, for a consumer products company that maintained a very large brain trust. And he expanded the R&D team from 1,100 people to 12 million people by using internet-based platforms. He put designers on the R&D team. He held management meetings in design firms. He pushed the creative agenda across the entire company. And what happened? Revenues rose from $43 billion to $83 billion. Not a small feat to see that kind of top-line growth. Stock price, margin increased by 10%. Remarkable growth, a fairy tale story, and all through making creative pervasive across an organization. Daniel Pink, in his book, A Whole New Mind, said that the future belongs to artists, innovators, and storytellers. The future belongs to creativity. The future of business will be inspired by creativity. Thank you.